Hey everyone, this is your OG, Original Gamer, and this is another Godforge video. Today we're looking at another top 5 possible heroes, this time for the Olympus faction. We already know so many great champs in this mythos, so let's explore a few more that might be really cool to see Fateless bring into the game. Okay, so these are, and just to be clear, these are not champs that we are saying we've seen leaked or anything like that. It's just pure speculation around champions that could be a cool fit for the game, but we certainly have not seen them, okay? So without further ado, let's optimize. All right. So, first up, okay, so we've got our top five possible Olympian heroes, but we do have some others that we're going to mention along the way as well. But to start us off, Apollo is the first one that we just had to pick, okay? Apollo is the god of music, poetry, archery, and healing. He's associated with light and reason, so that just seems like way too many things that can be well incorporated within the game. He's the son of Zeus, twin brother of Artemis, who is already in the game, the god of the hunt. And he's often depicted with a lyre, which is a musical instrument, and is considered a master musician. So maybe this is a sleep-disabled type champion, someone who has sleep through his ability to play music. Now, while Helios is the OG sun god, Apollo became highly associated with the sun as he represents light and energy. And his son, Asclepius, became the god of medicine. So he's also got healing components, so that's his son sort of spun off and became the god of medicine. Apollo is also a skilled archer. He wields a silver bow and golden arrows. He was additionally the leader of the Muses. I believe there are 9 Muses. And he's also been associated with the Raven due to his oracle in Delphi and his own prophetic abilities. He wears sometimes a laurel wreath for his victory over the serpent Python. He'd likely be a legendary in the Olympus faction. So that is Apollo. Now, before we move on to any of the next 4, I'm going to give you 2 that I'm going to say are just absolute givens. Like, I'm pretty certain they're going to be in the game, and I'll explain why. So we're not counting them as our top 5 possible Olympian heroes. We're calling these givens. Like, it's a given that these 2 right now are going to be in the game. So let's look at them. Up first is Poseidon, okay? God of the sea. I really feel like he has to be in it because Hades and Zeus, his 2 brothers, are already in it, in the game. So without him, like, that's sort of the trifecta is Poseidon, Hades, and Zeus. So Poseidon, or otherwise known as Neptune in his Roman name, looks to be one legendary champion that I think it's a given we're going to see this champion at some point, maybe as part of a fusion or something like that. But it would be strange not to see Poseidon, as well as Hera. Hera is the queen of the gods, wife to Zeus, far too powerful to leave out. So just when will we see her is probably more to the guess. So that's Hera and Poseidon. Those are what you would call our givens. And next up, we get to our possible boss, or a boss pass, as we're calling it. This is our possible boss fight, okay? This is an interesting one, okay? Gaia is Mother Earth. Uranus it stands for the sky there. No jokes, no hot air jokes there. But Uranus stood for the sky and the heavens, and Gaia stood for the earth. These 2 they produced the 12 Titans, sort of these primordial forces that move the earth around prior to it sort of settling down in humans and gods having all their issues. This is sort of well before that. But as a boss, how cool would it be to have a Gaia Uranus sort of like switch back and forth? You could go between the Gaia form or the Uranus form, and they're sort of split. Okay, but it also goes beyond that as well. So it could also be something where you face their children or the 12 Titans. Now, to get to them even, okay? So there were 6 male and 6 female Titans. And what's neat about them is as we look at them, they sort of pair up. Male, female, they pair up. So Cronus is the youngest of the Titans, but he led the revolution against his father, and he became the ruler of the cosmos. Zeus will overthrow Kronos in the future, and he'll become the most powerful. But before that, Cronus he leads this great revolution against Uranus. No jokes there, no jokes. And then he's paired up with his sister, Rhea, who is a female Titan. So this is before there wasn't families of Titans everywhere, so incest is it wasn't thought of like that, but all the brothers and sisters are sort of male-female I guess you'd say co-pieces. And so Cronus was with Rhea, and Rhea was a Titaness of fertility, motherhood, and generation. And so they were married, they were together. Then you had Oceanus. He was the Titan of rivers and sort of the personification of the sea before you got to Poseidon and all that. And then Tethys was a Titaness of fresh water and seas, and she was the wife of Oceanus. Okay, so then you had Coeus, which was the Titan of intelligence and sort of the axis of heaven, and then you have Phoebe, the Titaness of intellect, prophecy, and the moon. You also had Crius, the Titan of heavenly constellations and the south. So heavenly constellations, you look at the stars. And then the female Titaness, Mnemosyne, which is the Titaness of memory and nomadic device, right? Like memory and remembrance. She was the mother of the muses. So that would be an interesting pairing. And then Hyperion, the Titan of light and heavenly observation, was married to Thea, his sister, who was the Titaness of sight, brightness, and shining. Lastly, Iapetus was the Titan of mortality and the father of Prometheus, Atlas, and he was also considered the Western Pillar. He would be paired really well with Themis. She was the Titaness of divine law, order, justice, and custom. So maybe you have to face off against these 6 pairings in order to get to the Gaia-Uranus big boss fight, but that could be a really interesting thing. Now, if just a point of note, Cronus and Rhea, those first 2 we talked about, they produced nearly all of your known Olympians after that. Zeus, all of them came out of Cronus and Rhea's marriage, okay? So that is an interesting boss fight that we just thought we would add as a bonus. Next up, number 2 in our top 5 is Perseus. Perseus is a hero from Greek mythology. He's a demigod, son of Zeus, and Danae, she was a mortal princess named Danae. I'm not sure how to pronounce that exactly. But an oracle foretold the king that he would be slain by his grandson. This prompted the king to imprison his own daughter Danae, but Zeus obviously was persistent, and the outcome was Perseus. Famously, Perseus is known for slaying Medusa. He's the original stoner, he slew Medusa, and then he used her head to stone a sea monster and rescue Andromeda from her abuser. Then he finally also does kill his grandfather, the king, with a discus, fulfilling the prophecy that the oracle had said. He's an ancestor of Heracles, and he's oftentimes shown with Medusa's head in hand, and using it to turn enemies to stone that look at it. That power that Medusa has doesn't disappear just because she's been beheaded. Now, what's interesting is Medusa is also in the game, so it'd be really interesting if he comes into the game and has Medusa's head, how that works with Medusa in the game as well. But we can't wait to see what kind of fun Fateless will have with that. Okay, next, after Perseus, we're not going to get to number 3 just yet. These 2 are honorable mentions. Hecate is an honorable mention. She's a goddess associated with magic, witchcraft, the moon, crossroads, and the night. She's often depicted with torches, keys, or black dogs, and later as a triple-bodied or three-faced goddess, as you see here. She's linked to choices and transitions between realms. She's a guide for souls in the underworld and is known to run with Persephone, who is the queen of the underworld and is already also in this game. So that is Hecate. And then our second honorable mention is Circe. Circe is heard of in the Odyssey. Odysseus stops, and Circe is a powerful sorceress, and her potion turns Odysseus's men into pigs. But then she becomes an ally. She likes Odysseus. But anyways, if there was a champion to bring the sheep debuff to Godforge, I think Circe would be the closest with the pig debuff. So maybe this is just something that'll scare all those anti-sheep folks out there. Maybe Circe could be an honorable mention just as a neat way to bring in that fun debuff. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's Circe. All right, on to our number 3 here. We have Ares, god of war and courage. He embodies the physical brutality and violence of war, where, kind of that bloodlust and destruction, where his sister Athena is more of a strategic beast. And therefore, she's typically ranked or rated higher than him. He's just sort of this raw, destructive force. She's a smart, raw, destructive force. So that's what typically puts her ahead of him. He's often depicted alongside Eris, the goddess of discord. Servers? No. With his children, Phobos, fear, obviously if you have a phobia, and Deimos, or terror, connecting him to the negatives of war. So his children are fear and terror, so that never bodes well for the enemy. He scooped up Aphrodite, I should say, despite her being married to the divine blacksmith there, Hephaestus, I don't know how you say his name, but the guy that makes Zeus's thunderbolts or lightning bolts there. Ares is badass enough. He said, I got you. I think Aphrodite's pretty hot. I'm going to, have an affair with her. But they still wound up being together. Ares is also a son of Zeus. And so isn't Hephaestus. I can't say his name. And he has some pretty notable, work as a blacksmith. He makes Zeus's thunderbolts. He made Pandora's box. He actually made Ares' armor, so Ares really didn't show him much gratitude for that. And he also made Achilles' shield. So those are some of the pieces that the divine blacksmith there, Hephaestus, I'm just bad. Somebody will fix me there. But that's some of the things he made. But how it interfaces with Ares, really I think could be a very cool champion to have in the game. What do you think about Ares, the god of war? Next up, and I think Ares would likely be a legendary. He could be an epic, depending on what his kit was built with. Definitely could be an epic. Next we have Prometheus, okay? Stealing the fire from the gods for humanity's sake, and then being chained to the mountain and having an eagle eat his liver over and over again every day as punishment by Zeus for helping us. Really, the people's champ, right? He was born a Titan god. He gave mankind the gifts they needed to survive, i.e. fire, but was chained to a mountain for his crime. And like I said, every day that eagle feasts on his liver, and he's immortal, so it regenerates every night. It just highlights the cycle of suffering that he experiences until Hercules frees him by killing the eagle and breaking his chains. He's credited with being the creator of humans from clay, but you're going to have to get in line, buddy. There's a lot of those type of gods we've heard of who also created humanity from clay, so get in line for that. But Prometheus seems to be the people's champ, could have some really cool burn effects with fire, maybe could have the eagle as a part or the chains as a part of his weaponry or how he does damage. Maybe he chucks pieces of the mountain with the chain, because he's a demigod or he's actually a titan. So really could have a lot of fun with that as a character in Godforge. So our number 4 out of 5, and not in any particular order, they're just 5 that we think would be cool for the game. And I want to say a special shout out to those folks in the Discord server and commenting on the videos that are helping, throwing out ideas, and also to Fudge Boss, who always has been helping us with our research. Want to thank him. He brought together this list for Olympus, so want to thank him for his work. If you want to be a part of this and help us and do some research and be a part of this, we will be sure to feature you and appreciate your work. We're all just giving it to the community and working to help everybody have a better understanding of the game. All right, so that is Prometheus, and now we have number 5 is Hermes, okay? Hermes reminds me a lot of a Loki type. He's a speedy messenger of the gods, but he also represents commerce, travel, and competition and athletics. He's the son of Zeus and Maya. He's kind of a trickster due to his cleverness and cunning, and it reminds me of Loki a little bit in that way, not as far as Loki takes it, but he also guides souls to the underworld. You'll notice he'll have winged sandals and a winged hat, along with his infamous herald staff that you see there, making him a likely hero that I think we'll see in Godforge. He's linked to communication. He's like a sweet talker. So maybe he puts buffs on his team or he puts debuffs on the enemy. He's linked to athletics because it's said he invented wrestling and boxing, so that could be valuable. I definitely see Hermes being an epic or a legendary in the game if they brought him in, and think he'd be a speed-focused champ, which would lead me to think Invoker or Disruptor, depending on which way they want to go with him. But I would say that he's more associated with healing, so I would say he's probably more of an Invoker than a debuffer. But I think there could be some ways to create a debuff for him or with him. Anyways, that is Hermes. Now, I've got one more honorable mention here because I just thought this one is too cool. This is not the shoe that Michael Jordan likes. This is Nike, or the Roman name Victoria, which happens to be the name I had for my rifle in boot camp, right? So this is the goddess of victory, winged and symbolic of speed and swiftness, and represents the spirit of competition, kind of like a female Hermes in a sense. This could be a great arena meta breaker and had to be put in here as an honorable mention. So that is Nike. All right, folks, well, that will be it for us. Here are your top 5 to 7 or 8-ish heroes that we think would be cool to see in Godforge. We'll have to wait to see which one of these make it in, but your OG will be here every step of the way to keep you informed. Thanks for stopping by and listening to this one all the way to the end. Take care of yourself, and remember, play smarter.